You're listening to The Real Short Box, a comic book podcast made for geeks by geeks.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in and listening to The Real Short Box. Our special Shocktober episodes are in full effect. With me today is one bronze horror fan freak, Jack Maraglia. Jack, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Donald, good to be here. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
And you do this amazingly cool little zine, like one of those old school kind of glued together magazines.
I got the zine bug back in 94 before anyone was flagpole sitting. And I just every other, each year I don't do it, the bug comes back and bites me harder. Right now, my current zine is called The Stapled Spine, which I can't believe no one's used for any sort of horror comic book anything. But it's The Stapled Spine, and we started back in October of 2019, not knowing that the next, the pandemic was right around the corner. But in the last 3 years, I've definitely spent the time researching other mags. I've got a good correspondence with the horror fanzines in the UK and Belgium and Spain, as well as, of course, bugging Subasati up at Rue Morgue magazine in Canada. So yeah.
That's crazy. It's called The Stapled Spine.
Stapled Spine.
I love the name, and yeah, I'm surprised no one else has used that either. That's really just kind of rolls off the tongue, so I'm shocked.
Except I can't use any SS logo imagery. I'm keeping that one in the drawer. We're good with that.
Yeah, probably not the best idea. Yeah, we're going to avoid that. So let's talk a little bit about some Bronze Age horror stuff. So you're a big Marvel guy.
I am. I'm such a big Marvel Bronze Age horror fan that I've actually collected myself in a corner, as it were. I got the full run of Tomb. I've got the full run of Werewolf, except for the Moon Knight's freakishly expensive book. I've got almost all the previews. Got all the monsters, yeah. And so, because of that crazy collecting of that stuff, I started sniffing around DC, who, as most of you know, and I did not because I'm a Marvel snob, have some amazing Bronze Age horror titles.
Nice. Yeah. DC put out some really good stuff in the 60s, 70s, and primarily 70s and 80s, to be honest, for their House of Secrets and their Swamp Thing and
stuff like Weird War, their Creature Commandos, and Creature
cool. Commandos is great. And then they kind of branched out a little bit with their Vertigo line. A lot of horror in that line as well.
Yeah, definitely. I remember that just like from being a teen in the 90s. That was you wanted to talk to the really scary goth girl in your high school that you really had a crush on. That's where you went in the comic book shop.
You went to the Vertigo section.
You went to the Vertigo area, yeah.
Nice. That's smart. Yeah, I never thought to do that. Although I don't think I ever saw any girls in the comic book shop. So.
Oh, okay, that's true too.
Yeah, smaller town, maybe, I don't know, but it was slim pickings where I was from originally. I'd show up and my sister'd be there, and I'd be like, "Nope."
Sorry.
Yeah, this isn't West Virginia. I'm good. No offense to people in West Virginia, by the way. It's a joke. Kidding. I tease. So Bronze Age horror is really good. And then there's kind of a lull in the 90s, to be honest, except for independent books. There was a lot of indie horror in the 90s that didn't get the recognition it deserved.
That I truly collect is I love Blade. Blade is the man. And Blade is a character, and Morbius as well, where you'll find yourself branching out to buying those big black and white Marvel Charlton horror magazines.
Oh, wow.
Man, I'll tell you what, that's because they were trying to skirt the comic code at the time. It wasn't anything as crazy as truly independent books, but it definitely went for it a little bit harder. But those books now, even as someone, a collector now, if you're using mycomicshop.com from Lone Star out in Texas, stuff like that. Those books, I mean, unfortunately now they're busting out in price, but for a long time, just the amount of content. If you're not a speculator and you're just someone who's just in it for the story and the love of it, those black and white mags, man, have so much content, so much stuff in them. I mean, Tony Isabella and all those guys were busting that stuff out like crazy back then. But to speak on the evolution there, if you follow Blade, Blade from the brown jacket and the green pants and the green goggles and stuff of the 70s, and then evolving into the 90s with all the leather and the high top fade, and that, like, the third or fourth volume of Blade, that after the Midnight Sun stuff, the art gets just brutally unreadable. It's so bad.
Yeah, I noticed that, like, with the 90s, and that's why I didn't really mention the Marvel 90s horror so much, is because you look at Darkhold, you look at Blade, you look at Mobius, and things like that that they were putting out around that time, and they put every artist that was just starting out and was like, "Look, I do a drawing," and they're like, "Okay, cool. We'll do a bunch of drawings, and you can do, Blade over here, and you can do," you know what I mean? So it just felt like. And it happened a lot, actually, surprisingly, in DC Vertigo, too. You would get, like, books with, like, really bad art, and it would just make it. Unfortunately, if the story's still very good, you sometimes just can't get past the artwork because it's so hard to.
Yeah, it's not like buying a book that it has a lame-o storyline, but is beautiful to look at. You know what I mean? It is a visual art form. I mean, visual product.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise you're just doing basically, you're reading a novel or a novella or something, and what's the point in that?
Yeah,
you're collecting comic books is what you're supposed to be doing, and comic books is visual art, as well as regular storytelling in of itself. So it's very fascinating how one can take you completely out from the other.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that to follow some of these artists that are very famous now that get kicked around on different weird books. I mean, one that always sticks out to me, and I even started a collection of it, is Mignola. Mike Mignola's work. I always, in my mind, I just recognized him and started noticing him with Hellboy. But then, after, collecting again these last 10 years, I like, dude, look at all these weird superhero covers that he did, and doing like these B stories in a Thor annual. It's like, what? And it's really cool to see him, his Mignola-esque take on just like the weirdest stuff like Starman and Hellboy, and it's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his stuff in the 90s was seminal. The stuff that he was doing in the 80s too, mind you, for like what was it? It was Alpha Flight and stuff like that with the covers and things.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even know that he did the Death in the Family Bloody Robin cover. I didn't know that was him.
Yeah. And then he was doing. He did a whole Phantom Stranger run. He did some demon stuff. He did. He was very prevalent in the 90s, and even in the 80s in the mainstream, and then kind of branched out into his own stuff and was like, "Hey man, like, I've got this idea. I'm going to put this out there into the world." And it worked extremely well for him.
My brain at that time,
man, but
Sal Buscema's Spectacular Spider-Man villains. I mean, those creepy pinpoint eyeballs that he does in Tombstone and Carry On and all those guys. That's, my head was there during that time.
Mm-hmm. Some great stuff. So that leads us kind of into the up-to-date kind of horror. And there's always been some horror books that come out, and whether mainstream or independent, always. It's just like something that's always been going on. And as long as people, are wanting to be scared, that's where we're at. And since it's, Halloween time, it's our Shocktober episode and stuff, we want to talk a little bit also about some of the mainstream, like not mainstream, but like more new books, some mainstream, some not so much. A lot of small independent companies.
Horror is being carried today. I feel like in this past 2 years, horror has gone through the roof with all the big titles.
What's carrying, I think, the comic book industry in a lot of ways. You'll have your Batman and your Spider-Mans, and that's cool. You know, they can hold their own in their own right and prop up a company. In fact, if you talk to any small independent comic book company who's like, what if we just gave you Spider-Man? They'd be like, yeah, that could fund us for life, you know? So totally understand that. But we had these other companies that have come about, and whether they've been out for a while or just a little bit, their names now are much more common than what you think. And I'm just going to go through some of the company names, list these off, and see what your thoughts on these companies are.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go with, look here and what I got in my stack. Let's talk about a few of these companies. Let's go Scout Comics.
Scout Comics is fantastic. In fact, I think the flexibility of a lot of these independent comic labels, Scout's a great example, is they're nimble enough to fracture themselves. So Scout has Scoot Comics now, which is all young YA and children's comics.
Mm-hmm.
And they also have Black Caravan, which is their specifically horror label. And I think I just heard that they announced that they moved a couple titles around. So like they had their Hobo one. I'm not familiar with it, but it moved from the regular Scout label to Black Caravan. So they're able to really like focus their team so that people that are handling these books like have the single mindset that I think matches up that readers want. You know, when you see that label on there, you know, okay, well, this is what I'm in for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm looking right now at a Scout comic that I don't know how old it is. I just picked it up like 2 days ago, and I was actually I was at Universal Studios, and I was walking through City Walk, and they have Things from Another World, I think, which is a Dark Horse, their comic shop there. And I found a copy of a book called Tart, and it's from Scout Comics.
I'm not familiar with that one.
I'm not either. It's Kevin Joseph and Ludovic Sal, however you pronounce it. And it's called Devils and Demagogues. And it's called Tart. And it's got a little cupcake above the T. And on the cover, it looks like a demon. And he's got like a leather strap across his chest, and then like on his right shoulder, it's got like this horned plate that's on there. And he's got some paint on his face. So obviously there's some type of demonic thing going on there. And I don't know if it's like demonic baking or what. I kind of vaguely remember hearing a story about like a demonic bake shop or something. And I don't know if this is the story or not. It could be. If that's the case, I'm surprised it's in Scout and not in Black Caravan. Because
that book sounds like it might be 2019. I know that since the pandemic is when everyone really started getting, because like they're in different states, even Scout, Scoot, and Black Caravan.
Oh, geez.
So like I think that's part of the reason why they kind of focused on having the smaller labels, just for logistics. I think, I don't know. I mean, I'm just speculating there, but I know that they've been pushing these different things just since this past year.
It's all really not what I thought it was. This story. A little boy vanished in 1950s New York.
Flip through the books in the shop, man. It's like that X-Men panel where what is it? Wolverine's flipping through a penthouse. The guy says it's not a library, bub.
Yeah. But you know what? It still sounds great. Okay. And I'm glad I got it because it says a young boy vanished in 1950s New York. Everyone is baffled except a young woman who's named Tart Acid. Yes, that's her name. Who arrives out of thin air. Tart realizes that this is no ordinary kidnapping. All she knows is that if she's been sent, a demon is loose and threatening the history of the world. And will she be able to find the boy before he becomes another casualty in Tart's war against the forces of hell?
Yikes.
So, interesting. Yeah, sounds cool. I'm in on that. I can get behind that. But I'm also looking at their Black Caravan run here. And I know we've talked in the past about a couple of them. Black Friday.
Yep.
Which you said sounded really cool. It was like the dregs of basically working in retail and kind of adding in the fact that there's some type of zombie or demon in there.
Yep, you'll have to read to find out.
Okay. And another one's called Broken Souls Ballad.
Oh man, that one's fantastic. That one's still really early. It's good jumping on material. It is kids with dark powers and those that control them. And it's, I know saying that out loud and hearing it probably sounds tired as hell, but man, that book, it sucks you in. It's a good book. Broken Souls is fantastic.
And I was just at this shop. I picked up issue 1. I saw issue 3, and I was like, no, I have to get issue 2 before. I'm weird. I have to get issue 2 before I get issue 3. I can't get issue 3 and never.
Books, they don't stand alone. You know, it's not an anthology book. They very much build heavily on the previous issue.
Okay, good to know. And then I found these other 2, which they look like perfect companion pieces, and I just love the covers so much. The first one is called Phantom Starkiller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Draco
one,
Knuckle Duster is what you're going to say.
Yes, Count Draco Knuckle Duster.
Yeah, those are both from Joseph Schmalke. He pops up everywhere now. I've gotten this is the past year. He's really caught my eye, and I've been following him. He does the Cherry Blackbird, and God, he has a new one out called "We Don't Kill Spiders." That one's fantastic. But yeah, he's one of the co-heads of a Black Caravan itself.
Cool.
And both of those books are really tough. They even made little action figures for him and stuff like that. And he is that guy, Joseph Schmalke. He's definitely leading the charge on the current wave of VHS mock-up covers. And man, he's good at it. Boy,
nice.
Yeah,
nice. So he's got to be probably in his late 30s, mid 40s.
Yeah, but they're out there in, like, I think New Hampshire. They're in the East Coast, so but his website and all things Black Caravan have been booming this year. Not
awesome.
Studios.
I'm looking at another one here. I'm pretty sure you picked this one up recently too. It's called by a company called Blaze, I believe, and it's He Who Fights with Monsters.
I just read that last night. Finally, yeah, I found myself. I was looking at my stack, and I was like, "Dang, where?" I started like looking at stuff. I was like, well, I didn't know that was a Blaze. A Blaze is weird because I don't have a feel for that label yet. So when I look to see who it is, I'm like, oh, it's a Blaze. It was, He Who Fights with Monsters. I was able to score the Fantastic Four mock-up variant and the glow-in-the-dark cover. God, I love glow-in-the-dark covers.
Oh, I'm a sucker for those as well.
Fights with Monsters.
I mean, I have a glass tabletop. I got it a big sheet of glass, 2 sheets of glass, so I could fit glow in the dark comics in between them. So when I shut out my light at night before I go to bed, my table just glows with comics.
That's fantastic. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'll have to send you a picture of it sometime.
Definitely.
Another company I want to talk about is very small company, but this one, I think they're on the precipice of something huge for themselves. They have one called Not All Robots, and that one is kind of about I think it's Mark Russell.
Yeah, it's Mark Russell.
Yeah, and that one's about robots kind of becoming sentient and starting to take over and more sinister type of storytelling again with this kind of thought. But the reason why AWA, I feel, is on the precipice here, is on the cuff of something great, is they had a story out not long before that called Chariot. In Chariot,
I got picked up. That was like the Night Rider type story, right?
Right. Yep. That one got picked up. So it got optioned for I think it's going to be a Netflix series is what they're going to do with it. Is what I'm being told.
AWA isn't like artist writers. It stands for something. I can't think of it, but it's like,
yeah. I don't know the name either, but I know that it's Avi Arad or whatever his name is.
Oh yeah, Akkad.
Yeah, the dude that did that's behind the productions of the original like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films, and like
Mustafa Akkad's son. Definitely, he put together all the Halloween stuff. Yeah, that family's huge, man.
Yeah. So the dude knows what he's doing. And so this stuff's starting to get picked up. So I would say if you like a title or you're thinking about getting a title from that company, you should do it now. Otherwise,
Not sure, Donald, but I think that company was actually put together to do that.
yeah, I mean that makes sense because like we were
their-
talking about on the back of Bad Idea, which is another company.
Mhm.
It says a Bad Idea production or something like that.
That idea picture, for the lot, yes.
Right. Yep, for the lot. So basically, they're trying to sell. A lot of these independent comic book companies only exist to try to sell their properties to studios, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. I don't think
The reader, the comic reader, I mean,
yeah. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother you. It shouldn't bother any reader as long as they're putting out good material. If they're like, well, let's just throw shit against the wall and see what sticks. No, I'm not going to buy it. And your company's not going to do well. But
right.
if you're putting out quality, solid content to sell to a studio, but it's also a really good read, then hell, I'm on board 100%. I would say probably the best of the bunch with that at someday when it gets optioned, you're going to regret everything you've ever said about Nailbiter because that is one of the best.
Oh, oh boy. You stuck that knife right into my ribs there. I didn't even see that one coming. You bastard.
Yep, you didn't see it coming. I snuck that right in there. I was shaking my left hand and I got you with the right.
Just like how the Nailbiter snuck all the horror elements past me because that book didn't do nothing for me, kids.
Oh, it's great. For those listening, everybody knows I'm a big horror fan, but I'm a big fan as far as comic books is concerned, and I'm a big fan of Nailbiter. It's probably one of my favorite independent comic books written in the last 20 years. I mean, I love it.
Failed.
Jack's not a fan.
Got to get Vertigo's Eaters, the Eaters.
Oh yeah, you were talking about the Eaters, saying it's got some similar elements. Though it's super scary.
Everything Nailbiter wanted to be and failed miserably. So if you read that one, you might pass out, and I'll send the flowers to your funeral there.
If I pass out, I hope to wake up.
But it was a intense pass out.
Here's another one that I just picked up, by the way, and I got the first issue, and I haven't read it yet, but I'm excited and scared because I've heard weird things about it.
Okay.
This is the Antisocial Network, aka Red Room.
Oh, dude!
And I finally found issue 1. It says banned in 5 countries on the cover for issue 1.
So we're gonna. Damn it! I hate talking about this one because everyone's all up on cartoon kayfabe's tip, and I get it, dude. Rug and what's his name now? Good grief! I feel like a jerk. The guy who actually does Red Room, that draws like Evan Dorkin and no one else.
Piscor, I believe.
What?
Am I wrong? Is it Ed Piscor?
I can't remember. Anyways, that book right there, man, and I think I bottomed out too on buying some independent horror over the summer. That just being, I think, from Asylum Press. Ugh. They do super cool things, and it looks like you're buying a record. They have cool packaging and vintage retro horror stuff. But then you flip through the books, and it's like, man, I can only see people like rip out tongues with pliers and fish hooks in the eyes and like just gore, like for the sake of gore. Like, there was no story. It was just like, look at all these gross drawings. Man, I love horror. I love slashers. I like all that stuff. There's got to be something connecting it. And that whole Red Room, I read that first one and I effed up, and I pre-ordered from Fantagraphics all 4 issues. Sure, I'll be able to sell them, but dude, it is not my flavor. And it's like, honestly, the thing I'm trying to write in my zine right now is gore versus sex in comics, and how it's okay to show a decapitated baby, but you can't draw a human penis. No, and it's like, something in that just really makes me mad. I don't know what it is. I've got some weird click in me that's
I 100% agree. I
like
don't know anything.
You see a dong, it's like, oh, that means anything's possible.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this, so I'm glad you told me because now I'm going to be carefully open the pages when I go to check it out.
You might dig it, but I mean, it's just torture drawings for the sake of torture drawings. And the thing is, they're all independent. Like again, that's why I don't like. It's just not for me. You know,
Yeah.
I can't say it's bad art. I can't say it's bad writing. What writing there is, and it's done by dudes that I dig. But good grief, man, it's like it's just not my
Totally
thing.
different from, let's say, for example, Aftershock's Maniac of New York.
Yeah, but dude, Andrea Muti, who draws, he paints. I could look at that book.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's totally different. It's beautifully drawn, but also there's a story behind the murder.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, the Red Room. There's no atmosphere, and I don't mean to chalk that up as because it's a black and white book. I love black and white horror comics, but this one's just like I don't know.
Red Room.
I got through it the first time just as a chore, just to stay. I read it, and then I just was not happy every time the subsequent ones showed up in my mailbox.
Yeah, Red Room is Fantagraphics' like biggest hit that they've had in quite some time, I think. So they're very pleased with it.
Definitely, and it's that especially it's easily the biggest hits that doesn't have a Los Bros name on it for sure. I mean, I'm sure they're very glad some new blood going.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and like I said, pivoting back over to Maniac of New York, that one felt like I think I had said at one point it's to me it's a cross between Friday the 13th meets The Relic.
Yeah.
It has this kind of a vibe of there's something out there like tribal that is causing this, and it's related to this psychopathic killer in New York that just doesn't discriminate, will kill men, women, children, everybody that gets in his path. So I think I have the final issue
back next year. Yeah,
I have the final issue to read of this, and I'm super excited about to see where it ends up. And I know that one's getting a second series, and I think it's in December.
Yeah, the second volume is going to be coming back at the end of the year or right at the start of next year.
And I believe you said that about Bunny Mask as well, which is another Aftershock.
Oh, yeah, it's called The Hollow. That's coming back, I believe, in January. Very excited about that. Written by Portlander Paul Tobin. And that's illustrated by Andrea Muti as well, who did Maniac of New York.
Nice. Russell, I think it was Mark Russell is what we were talking about. He also did a book
Dead
called Nightfall, or it's by Nightfall. It's called Dead Box from Vault Comics.
Yeah. Vault Comics puts out their books, their covers, the feel of it. I like the way a Vault comic feels. I don't know how to say that any flowerier, but they physically make good comics.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that. It looks interesting. It's not exactly what I thought it was when I, obviously by the cover's a little bit, to me, a little more ominous. Like when you would buy or rent a horror title from the video store, the cover has to sell you on it. And
oh yeah, you bet.
For like me, like for instance, I was never a guy that loved a lot of gore, so I avoided Chopping Mall like the plague because
God.
hand holding a bag, like a mall bag filled with like eyeballs and shit. And I was like,
watch this movie though?
I did watch it and thought it was great.
Oh, Donald, you simple baboon. That movie is terrible. It sucks.
Yeah, it's great. Chopping Mall is so much fun.
Dude. Oh my God. The Roombas are going to get you guys. Look out.
Yeah, dude. I mean, imagine if you're sleeping and your Roomba comes up on you. You're drunk, you pass out on the floor or something, and your Roomba comes up on you and starts like sucking your skin off.
Yeah, exactly. You're all the 30-year-olds partying in the mall after hours. That
yeah, the 30-year-olds that are supposed to be teenagers partying in the mall.
Worst.
Yeah,
they got to pay back.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about terribly written stuff, let's talk about Colin Bunn for.
Oh, who? I'm sorry, I don't think I.
Colin Bunn.
Oh, Colin Bunn.
Sure, you can call him that because his stuff sucks shit.
The the writer of Basilisk, the last book you'll ever read, Lucky Devil, Manor Black, Parasomnia, Phantom on the Scan, Pumpkinhead, The Shadow Man, Tales from Harrow frickin' County. My friend, I don't know what they got in the water down there, but woof.
You're not
You
a fan. You're not a fan, huh? Oh wait,
I
you
am
are a fan.
fan. Fun on a bun. That is what it's all about.
So. If you say so. I'm gonna give him a shot here. I've got Parasomnia and Lucky Devil in front of me, so I'm gonna read the first issues of both of these, and then maybe we'll get back together on another pod and talk about how much I hated them.
Yeah. Very good. That's
and we'll go from there. But just really quick to recap, we've gone over quite a few here as far as like series and stories and stuff. We've got another one called Boom from Boom's called Eat the Rich, which sounds pretty fun.
Yeah, I've that's on my to read pile. I've got the first 2 issues, and I'm going to break down and probably read those tonight.
Nice. Another one we have, I believe. Let's see. Fear Case was another one that I was telling you about. It's like this FBI people that one of the cases that they have to do to kind of like initiate them into being part of the FBI is to try to solve this fear case, this case about this literal case that everywhere it goes, disaster happens. And they're trying to trace it back to where it originated, who has it, what was the source of it. And sinister things start to happen as they get closer in the actual case because they got closer than anybody else.
Yeah, and the comics are beautiful, man. The covers are to the point, stylistic, and they're awesome looking comics. Yeah.
They look great. Black covers, it's the only thing. Like, if you are a person that wants to keep your comic books pristine, you're gonna have to wear gloves. You know.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Because the whole cover is completely. I think even the back is all black or something like that.
It's like it's matte black, so it's like thirsty paper waiting to soak up your oils.
Yep, you got it, buddy. But shoot, dang, I wish we had some more time, but I think that's going to do it for us on this one. And again, your zine is called The Stapled Spine.
StapledSpine.com is a website. We've got our big oversized Halloween issue coming out on the 13th. We talk with Steve Fox, the editor of Department of Truth, and he's also helping bring out their new spin-off of I think it's all about cryptids from the Department of Truth people, Tiny style. And we also got a great interview with Mr. Cullen Bunn. Excited about that. And all kinds of other stuff. And you can find that at stapledspine.com on the 13th of October and beyond.
All right. Looking forward to it. Hopefully I'll have read some of this Colin Bunn stuff by then, and maybe you'll make a believer out of me. We'll see.
Get in there.
Yeah. Get in that bun.
Bun in the oven.
All right. As far as our podcast is concerned, pretty much every Monday we do a live podcast on YouTube under Rumble Spoon Productions. You can find us there on YouTube. It's every Monday, 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. And we do a live podcast. A lot of fun. We have where the fans can vote, in the chat if you want for certain characters or films or whatever. We have our top 10s and stuff like that. And then sometimes we have interviews with creators and things as well. We also do an audio podcast all this month, the one you're listening to now, and other ones that'll be coming out for the month of Shocktober and beyond. We'll be doing highlights and spotlights on certain creators and certain stories and just horror comics in general and stuff. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We have our 200th podcast coming up as well. Our 200th audio podcast will land this month, actually, of October. So I'm super excited about that. We're going to have that ready for you. It's going to be a big one, guys. We got a giveaway for that. We're going to give away a slabbed book. It's going to be a Spawn comic. And we'll have that up on our social media so you can follow the rules for that to see if you could win. But with that, thanks again, Jack. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. And if we don't see you out and about anytime soon, perhaps someday in the near future, we'll see you at the comic shop. Thanks for listening.
This has been The Real Short Box. We'll see you at the comic shop. Thanks for listening.